The way some people die can be truly horrifying. But what if I told you that some of these deaths could have been prevented if they just thought about what they were going to be doing? In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 people who died in stupid ways, and I am fully aware that this is subjective, but I did find these people on stupid death lists. So don't shoot the messenger. Hello and welcome back, or welcome to my channel. If you don't know what's going on here, well, I can tell you that I'm not a pink loving girly Barbie fan, but I am a horror artist and I like to draw what I talk about in the videos. Now, I like anything to do with scary stories, scary facts, true crime, anything to do with aliens, the paranormal. And I like to draw, so I like to combine all of that into these videos to hopefully bring you a unique experience. Now, if you want to support me in any way, shape or form, I do have a Redbubble store where you can purchase these illustrations that I do in these videos as prints, and that's in the description down below. And I also have an Etsy store where I create felt toy patterns, so if you are a creative person, head across there and knock yourself out by looking at what range I have on there. I have horror movie characters on there, I've got my own designs on there, but just head across there and you will see what I mean. Now, with that being said, let's get on with the video and let's get on with the drawing. Jerome Irving Rodale was born on the 16th of August 1898 in New York City and was a publisher, editor, and author. He was the founder of Rodale Inc. and the Rodale Institute, which included growing organic food without pesticides. He was always concerned about his health from a young age, as he suffered from a heart murmur and had poor eyesight. He promoted a healthy and active lifestyle with his organic gardening experimental farm he created in the 40s. He had a magazine called Prevention that he created in the 50s to promote the prevention of disease and not trying to cure them later on down the track with cutting out refined sugars, eating whole grains, using little amounts of fat in food, using herbal medicines, making sure babies were breastfed, and cutting out caffeine, nicotine, and cow's milk. He was also an anti-vaxxer and made claims that happy people don't get cancer. It was alleged that Jerome took 70 food supplements a day. On the 8th of June 1971, Jerome was a guest on the Dick Cavett show, where he said in the interview that he had never felt better in his life. He also said on the TV show that he was in such good shape that he fell down the stairs the other day and laughed all the way down. He followed that statement up by saying that he had decided that he was going to live until he was 100 years old unless he gets run down by a sugar-crazed taxi driver. The last thing he offered Dick before the interview ended was asparagus boiled in urine. Once the interview ended, Jerome was still sitting on the couch beside the next guest when he made a snorting sound and then just slumped over. Again, his guest thought Jerome was being comical, but when he didn't move, Dick asked if there was a doctor in the audience, which there was. There was an intern who came down to try and revive Jerome. Firefighters even came from across the street to help revive him, but Jerome was pronounced dead on the arrival at the Roosevelt Hospital at the age of 72. The interview was never broadcast, but Dick did end up talking about it on his blog and in other interviews he did, such as when he was on The Johnny Carson Show on the 5th of February 1982. What makes this death part of the stupid deaths is how Jerome handled himself in the interview before dying. It's like he fully jinxed himself with what he said. Li Po, also known as Li Bai or Li Bo, was a Chinese poet and one of the greatest and important poets of the Tang dynasty and in history. He was born in 701 in Jiangyu, Sichuan, China. Much of Li's life was reflected in his poems that he wrote, which were about places he went, friendships, his dreams, events happening, and nature. In his life, he was married 4 times, and his friend Du Fu became a beloved and favourite Chinese poet as well. But both men were heavy drinkers, and this would end up being the undoing of Li Po. In Li Po's life, he wrote about 1,000 poems, and many made it to books over the centuries. Around November 762, it was alleged that Li Po was in a boat drunk out of his scone when he looked down into the water and saw the moon reflecting, so he decided that he was going to hug or seize the moon and fell into the water and drowned. He was 62 years old. Johnny Ace was an American rhythm and blues singer born on the 9th of June 1929 in Memphis, Tennessee. He was 21 when he met 16-year-old Lois Jean Palmer. They dated, and it wasn't long until Lois got pregnant. They had 2 children, but they were rarely together because Johnny was cheating with several women and abandoned his family in 1953 for a loose, wild life. He was a piano player starting out in a band on Beale Street and was discovered in 1951 by Ike Turner when Johnny played piano on several B.B. King studio recordings. When B.B. King got big and moved to LA, the band, including Johnny, didn't have a lead singer, so Johnny took that place and got a deal with Juke Records. He had his first hit, My Song, which topped the charts for 9 weeks, but on the 25th of December 1954, Johnny had a performance with Big Mama Thornton in the City Auditorium in Houston, Texas. Johnny was backstage before the show and sitting with members of his band, where he was holding a .32 caliber revolver. He was playing with it and just generally being silly with it. There was allegations that Johnny was playing Russian roulette, but a band member of Big Mama, Curtis Tillman, set the record straight. Apparently, Johnny had been drinking and someone come out and said to him, "Be careful with that thing," where Johnny replied, "It's okay, the gun's not loaded, see?" He put the gun up to his head, smiled, and pulled the trigger. And it went bang, killing Johnny instantly. He was 25 years old. Adolf Frederick was the King of Sweden from 1751 until he died in 1771. He was apparently a weak monarch and just a figurehead, which means that he didn't have any power and he didn't pull the strings, just a puppet with the real people behind him calling the shots, like how governments are still run today. He was born on the 14th of May 1710 in Gottorp, Germany, to a duke named Christian August of Holstein-Gottorp and Albertina Fredrika of Baden-Dulab, who was a German princess. Although his reign was dull and quiet, he was considered a nice kind of man that liked making wooden boxes, but his biggest love was food. He often hosted grand dinners with an array of meats, truffles and spices, but unfortunately, this love of food would be his undoing. One night he was celebrating a Swedish traditional feast day called Fat Tuesday that apparently comes off of several days of fasting, so Adolf got ready to stuff himself stupid with every bit of food there was. He apparently had lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring and champagne, and then for dessert, his absolute favourite, semla, which is a traditional Swedish bun filled with almond paste and cream. Allegedly, Adolf ate 14 of these buns. A few hours later, Adolf was dead. It's said that Adolf either suffered a heart attack and died from too much food in his system, or it was food poisoning. Either way, before he died, he apparently complained of pains in the chest that he thought was indigestion. That's what you get for overindulging. He was around 60 years old. Charles II of Navarre, or Charles the Bad as he was known, was born on the 10th of October 1332 in Évreux, France, to Philip of Évreux and Joan II of Navarre. His mother was an only child and inherited lands in France and the throne, so this made Charles a very wealthy and important man when his mother died. But in the 1350s, Charles tried to take back Angelic from the Constable of France, Charles de la Cerda. Apparently these lands were taken from his mother and given to Charles de la Cerda. Charles II was pissed because the money received for these lands was small, so Charles II plotted and planned the assassination of Charles de la Cerda. Once Charles de la Cerda was killed, Charles II did not make it a secret that he hired people to kill him, and this angered many, so it put him in jail. But he ended up getting out to claim more land by force. But after such a colourful battle and disputes, karma got him in the end. His health started to fail, and in 1387 his doctor wanted him to keep warm by wrapping him in linen soaked in wine, and his bed warmed with hot coals in pans underneath. But a candle landed on his wine-soaked linen and lit him on fire. He burnt to death agonizingly. He was 54 years old. Now, what do you think about these deaths? Do you think they're stupid, or do you just think that they're just plain standard deaths that don't really need to be labelled, they just happened? Let me know your thoughts in the comment sections down below. Now, the illustration that I decided to do for this video today was basically, like always, combining all of these tragic deaths into one illustration. So you've got the fire on the top to represent Charles II being lit on fire. You've got this head on a stick, which I just felt like doing when I, thought of an image for all these disasters. This is what I came up with. The forks represent gluttony in the food that was consumed that killed Adolf Frederick. Then you've got like a heart that is attached to the stick as well, which represents the heart attack suffered by Jerome. And then there's water spewing out the bottom of the heart that represents the drowning of Lipo. And obviously the gunshot to the head in the center of the head on the stick to represent Johnny Ace's death. So yeah, this is my vision of what I came up with when I thought of all these things combined. And I actually don't mind this one. It's a bit more simple, but yeah, I do actually like this one. It's very sort of similar to the work I used to do ages ago, and I'm trying to get back to that. At the moment, my art is being very hit and miss, and I'm doing some absolutely rubbish pieces, and then I'm doing pieces that I don't mind. I feel like I've just gone a bit stagnant, and I've gone a bit backwards, and I don't know why, and I'm trying to better myself, but I don't know what's happening. But anyway, that is it from me. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you do enjoy these videos that I do, like and subscribe. Dislike it, I couldn't give two shits what you do, because any interaction that you give me goes towards the algorithm for other people to find me, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.